When Ryan was growing up, he was a very energetic kid, constantly moving around the house, dancing, singing, trying to make people laugh. Progressively over what seemed to be a period of 2 or 3 weeks, he had trouble walking up the stairs. He was constantly complaining about fatigue. He didn't want to go outside. Again, this is a kid who had a ton of energy, was always running around doing things, and it just seemed odd that he literally couldn't walk up 12 to 14 steps.
They came in and they point blank asked Ryan, we have some news we want to share with Mom and Dad, and we want to know how comfortable you are with hearing it. And at any time, if you feel like this is something you don't want to hear, you tell me to stop, and I stop. So they get about 30 seconds into the conversation. It wasn't very far, essentially far enough to say, you have cancer. You have leukemia, that's the type of cancer we know you have. We're going to do more testing to determine which type of leukemia you have. He was done. He was like, nope, no more. That's all I need to know.
I barely even knew what cancer meant, what leukemia was, how it affected my blood, what it did to me. I didn't know what any of that meant, and I didn't know how hard it was going to be.
If you're going to get cancer, it seems like leukemia, specifically ALL, is the one to get, right? They'll tell you 85% of the children in the first month are going to go into remission, and then basically you go through a maintenance phase over the next 2 years. And so you think, well, 85%, those are great odds. If we're going to get cancer, this seems to be the one.
We got a call first thing that said that he had not achieved remission as we had hoped and expected. We needed to bring him back in for not just a few days of chemotherapy, but he would be hospitalized for the entire month. That was probably the time where I personally lost a ton of hope. Like, you could see the statistics suddenly declining of, well, if your child doesn't achieve remission within the first month, they now fall into a second bucket of children, a 15% group that have different outcomes, quite frankly, and that's hard to hear.
Well, he still found humor and brightness in all the dark places. He definitely was depressed for a time, so once things started going downhill and chemo started failing, you could tell that he wasn't feeling up to being the bright child anymore.
You get that phone call at the end of the second month that not only is he not in remission again, but it's actually gotten worse, and now a bone marrow transplant's off the table. So I think one of the toughest conversations I've ever had was at the end of the October. It was the second month, and he had failed, and we had heard the doctor say, how serious it was. I basically had to bring the kids together, actually brought them into a room separately, and just told each one, like, listen, things are getting very serious. I just need you to know the severity of what's happening. You need to make every moment count, because the next time you see him, it could be your last. You just don't know.
Every time I went to the hospital to see him, I tried to hold my tears in because I didn't want to make him upset, but it was, I was really scared for him. Around Christmas time, we started a 50-state challenge to keep him entertained while he was in the hospital for a little while. So our goal was to get a card from every state. We created a map and everything. We'd color them in as they started to come. That was what kept us entertained for a while, because every day he had a bunch of cards to open, and people would send gifts and just really nice messages. So that was very entertaining. I loved opening those and reading through those with him.
For Ryan, my hope for his future is time. I want him to have a full life, like any parent would want their child to have. I want to see him go to high school. I want to see him graduate, go to prom. I want to see him get married. I just wanted him to have time.